Based on true events. Dramatized for educational purposes. Names and details. Changed. Important notice before we begin. Names, locations, and specific details have been changed to protect privacy and for narrative purposes. This content is presented for educational and awareness purposes to promote discussion about justice, accountability, and the importance of standing against abuse of power. Now, let's begin. What if I told you that the woman police officers mocked and threw in jail was actually one of the most renowned surgeons in the country? That the person they humiliated without a second thought held the power to save lives that even they might one day depend on? This is the story of Dr. Elena Rodriguez, a world-class cardiothoracic surgeon who was driving to perform an emergency surgery when she encountered a police checkpoint that would expose decades of corruption. A story about prejudice, abuse of power, and how one woman's courage brought down an entire system of injustice. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to that fateful day on Highway 78, where a simple traffic stop became a national scandal. Are you ready? Because what happens next will make your blood boil and then restore your faith in justice. Let's begin. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was driving her modest Honda Civic toward Birmingham Memorial Hospital. She wasn't in her usual surgical scrubs or white coat. She was dressed casually, having been called in on her day off for an emergency heart transplant. A 14-year-old girl was dying, and Dr. Rodriguez was the only surgeon in the state qualified to perform the complex procedure. Time was critical. Every minute counted. As she approached the small town of Fairfield, she noticed a police checkpoint ahead. 3 or 4 officers were blocking Highway 78. In the center stood Sergeant Devin Mitchell in his uniform, looking bored and aggressive. He raised his hand, signaling her to stop. Dr. Rodriguez pulled over to the shoulder and parked. She checked her watch. The surgery was scheduled to begin in 45 minutes. She needed to get through this quickly. Sergeant Mitchell approached her window with a swagger that screamed authority without accountability. He leaned down, looked her up and down, and asked in a condescending tone, "Where are you going, lady?" Dr. Rodriguez remained calm. "Officer, I'm a surgeon at Birmingham Memorial. I'm on my way to perform an emergency surgery. A child's life depends on it. I need to get through as quickly as possible." The sergeant laughed mockingly and looked back at his fellow officers. "Did you hear that, boys? She's a surgeon, and I'm the President of the United States." The other officers laughed along with him. Dr. Rodriguez felt her jaw tighten, but she maintained her composure. "Officer, I'm telling you the truth. If you need verification, you can call the hospital. Every second I waste here is a second that child doesn't have." Sergeant Mitchell's expression turned cold. "Oh, so now you're telling me how to do my job? Listen here, lady. You were speeding through our town, and I don't see your seatbelt properly fastened. That's 2 violations right there." Dr. Rodriguez knew exactly what this was. She'd heard the stories about Fairfield police. Everyone had. This was a shakedown, pure and simple. "Officer, I was not speeding, and my seatbelt is fastened. You can see it right here." She gestured to the belt across her chest. Sergeant Mitchell's face reddened with anger. "Are you calling me a liar? Step out of the vehicle, now." Dr. Rodriguez hesitated. "Officer, please, there's a 14-year-old girl who needs a heart transplant. I'm the only surgeon available who can perform this operation. If I don't get there in time, she will die. Do you understand? She will die." The sergeant's response was to grab the car door handle and yank it open. "I said, get out of the car!" His voice was loud enough that people in passing cars were starting to slow down and watch. Dr. Rodriguez stepped out slowly, her mind racing. She could reveal her full credentials, make a scene, demand to speak to his supervisor. But something told her to wait, to see exactly how far these officers would go, to document every moment of this abuse. Because if they were doing this to her, a respected surgeon, what were they doing to people who had no voice, no power, no recourse? Sergeant Mitchell grabbed her arm roughly. "Real tough guy, aren't you? When police tell you something, you shut up and obey. Got it? His grip was painful, deliberately so. Dr. Rodriguez looked him directly in the eye and said calmly, "Take your hand off me." Now. That only made him angrier. "Oh, we've got a tough one here." He turned to his officers. "What do you think, boys? Should we teach her some respect?" One of the younger officers stepped forward nervously. "Sergeant, maybe we should just give her a ticket and let her go. She says there's an emergency." Mitchell whirled on him. "Did I ask for your opinion, rookie?" The young officer stepped back quickly. Another officer, older and meaner looking, grinned and said, "Sarge, let's take her to the station. Give her the full treatment. She'll learn real quick how to talk to law enforcement." Dr. Rodriguez felt her phone buzzing in her pocket. It would be the hospital, wondering where she was. The surgery team would be prepped. The donor heart would be arriving any minute. That little girl would be on the operating table, sedated, her chest open, waiting for the only surgeon who could save her life. And that surgeon was being detained by a corrupt cop on a power trip. "Fine," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. "Take me to the station. But I want you to know that every second you delay me, you're killing a child. I hope you can live with that." Sergeant Mitchell's face twisted into an ugly sneer. "Save the drama, lady. If you really were some important surgeon, you'd be driving a Mercedes, not this piece of junk. You'd have hospital credentials, identification, something official, but you don't, do you? Because you're nobody. Just another person trying to talk their way out of a ticket." He grabbed her other arm now, both hands gripping her roughly. "Let's go." His partner snatched Dr. Rodriguez's purse from the car. She watched as he rifled through it, looking for drugs, weapons, anything they could use to justify what they were about to do. All he found was a wallet, her phone, keys, and her hospital ID badge. He held up the badge mockingly. "Look at this, Sarge. She really does have a hospital badge. Could have bought it online for $5. They both laughed. Dr. Rodriguez was put in the back of the police car. Through the window, she watched as one of the officers kicked her car door, leaving a dent. She said nothing. She was cataloging everything, every word, every action, every violation. When they arrived at Fairfield Police Station, Sergeant Mitchell dragged her inside roughly. The station was old, poorly maintained, smelling of stale coffee and corruption. "Hey, everyone!" Mitchell shouted. "We got ourselves a special guest today. Claims she's a surgeon. Says she's got some emergency surgery to do." The other officers in the station looked up from their desks. Some laughed. Others looked uncomfortable but said nothing. That's how complicity works in corrupt systems. Good people stay silent because speaking up costs too much. A younger officer approached nervously. "Sergeant, what are the charges?" Mitchell barely looked at him. "Speeding, failure to wear seatbelt, resisting arrest." "Write up whatever you want. Just make it stick." Dr. Rodriguez heard everything. She remained silent, observing. The sergeant sat at his desk and looked at her with contempt. "Name and address. Who's going to post your bail?" Dr. Rodriguez said nothing. "I asked you a question. What's your name?" Still silence. Mitchell slammed his hand on the desk so hard the sound echoed through the station. "Answer me right now." Dr. Rodriguez finally spoke, her voice calm and measured. "Sarah Johnson." The sergeant wrote it down, smirking. "Lying to police. That's another charge. You people never learn. You think you're smart, but it always catches up with you. One wrong move, and you won't even have time to regret it." Dr. Rodriguez was thrown into a dirty holding cell. Two other women were already inside. One of them, an older black woman, looked at her with sympathy. "What did they get you for, sister?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled slightly but didn't answer. She was observing everything, the conditions, the treatment, the systematic abuse. If this could happen to her, a renowned surgeon, what was happening to everyday citizens? People without her education, her resources, her eventual ability to fight back. Meanwhile, Sergeant Mitchell was filling out a false police report. Charge her with disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and public disturbance. An officer nearby asked hesitantly, "But Sergeant, We don't really have evidence of those charges. Mitchell laughed coldly. In this station, we don't need evidence. We make evidence. Time passed slowly in that cell. Dr. Rodriguez checked her watch repeatedly. The surgery window was closing. That little girl's life was slipping away with each passing minute. She felt the weight of helplessness, the same helplessness that countless innocent people must feel when caught in this system. Her phone had been confiscated, so she couldn't even call the hospital. Just as the sergeant was about to continue his harassment, a commanding voice cut through the station. "What the hell is going on here?" Everyone turned. Standing in the doorway was Captain Jeremy Williams. He had a reputation slightly better than the others in the department, though that wasn't saying much. He looked at the scene, at the woman in the cell, and frowned deeply. "What's going on, Mitchell?" The sergeant smiled nervously. "Nothing, Captain. Just a woman from Birmingham getting too smart with us. Teaching her some respect." Captain Williams looked carefully at Dr. Rodriguez. Her composure, her bearing, something about her didn't match the profile of a common criminal. "What are the charges?" Mitchell answered quickly. "Speeding, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct." Williams looked skeptical. "Let me see the paperwork." As he reviewed the hastily written report, his frown deepened. "This doesn't add up." He turned to Dr. Rodriguez. "Ma'am, what's your name?" Dr. Rodriguez remained silent. She wanted to see how far this would go. Mitchell laughed. "Captain, she won't even give us her real name. Been lying since we brought her in." Captain Williams was now on high alert. Something was very wrong here. "Put her in a separate cell. I want to question her personally." Mitchell looked surprised, but Williams's tone left no room for argument. "I'll handle this myself." Dr. Rodriguez was moved to a smaller, more isolated cell. She looked around at the broken bench, the smell of despair. This was the reality of the justice system for so many people. Every moment in this cell strengthened her resolve to expose what was happening here. Suddenly, a young officer burst into the station. "Captain, there's a convoy of black cars outside." Mitchell's face went pale. "What cars?" "Federal vehicles, sir." The officer's voice was shaking. Mitchell rushed outside, and the moment he saw the cars, his eyes widened in shock. He stumbled back inside and whispered urgently to Captain Williams. Williams asked irritably, "What happened? Who's here?" The officer could barely speak. "Sir, it's the Surgeon General of the United States." The entire station froze. "The Surgeon General? Here? Why?" The door opened, and in walked Dr. Thomas Chen, the Surgeon General, flanked by federal agents. His face was a mask of controlled fury. Behind him came hospital administrators, the hospital's chief of staff, and several people in suits who were clearly attorneys. "Sergeant Mitchell," Dr. Chen's voice was ice cold. "What operation are you running here?" Mitchell, confused and terrified, stammered. "Nothing unusual, sir. Just routine police work." Dr. Chen picked up the arrest report from the desk and read it with increasing anger. A deep line appeared between his eyebrows. He looked toward the cells and asked, "Who is the woman you arrested?" Mitchell swallowed hard. "Just some troublemaker who wouldn't cooperate during the traffic stop, sir." Dr. Chen's voice rose. "Do you have any legitimate evidence for these charges?" he asked again, more firmly. "Do you have any evidence?" Mitchell was completely cornered. No answer would save him now. Dr. Chen walked directly to the cell. "Ma'am, what is your name?" And for the first time, Dr. Elena Rodriguez smiled slightly and spoke clearly. "Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, Birmingham Memorial Hospital, Fellow of the American College of Surgeons, former Director of Pediatric Heart Transplant Program at Johns Hopkins." Complete silence filled the station. Every face went pale. Mitchell's legs shook. The other officers stood in shock. The floor seemed to disappear beneath their feet. The woman they thought was just another nobody to harass was actually one of the most renowned heart surgeons in the country. Not just any doctor. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had performed over 3,000 heart surgeries. She'd pioneered new techniques for pediatric heart transplants. She'd been featured on 60 Minutes, written books, trained surgeons from around the world. And they'd thrown her in jail like a common criminal while a child lay dying on an operating table. The moment this revelation hit, chaos erupted. Dr. Chen turned to Sergeant Mitchell with barely contained rage. "Mitchell, how dare you arrest a surgeon on her way to save a child's life? How dare you file false charges against one of the most respected medical professionals in this country?" Mitchell tried to speak, but before he could, Captain Williams nearby shouted, "Sir, I told them something was wrong with this arrest." Mitchell was now completely isolated. Then Dr. Rodriguez, in a calm but authoritative voice, delivered her own statement. "Sergeant Mitchell, your career in law enforcement is over. You've violated civil rights, committed unlawful arrest, and abused your authority. But more than that, your actions today may have cost a 14-year-old girl her life." At those words, the room seemed to stop breathing. One of the hospital administrators stepped forward, his face ashen. "Dr. Rodriguez, the donor heart arrived 35 minutes ago. We've been trying to reach you. The surgical team is standing by, but we're running out of time. We brought Dr. Patterson from Atlanta as backup, but he's not as experienced with pediatric cases." Dr. Rodriguez's face showed the first crack in her composure. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 20 minutes before we have to make a decision. The heart can't wait much longer." Dr. Chen immediately took command. "Get her out of that cell now. I want a police escort with full lights and sirens to get her to that hospital immediately." Captain Williams personally opened the cell. "Dr. Rodriguez, I am so sorry. This should never have happened." Dr. Rodriguez looked at him coldly. "Your apology means nothing to me, Captain. What matters is what you do next. Are you going to continue enabling this corruption? Or are you going to help me tear it down?" Before he could answer, she was already moving, federal agents clearing the way. But Sergeant Mitchell, in a last desperate move, pulled out a folded document from his pocket. "Wait, look at this first, then do whatever you want." He showed the paper. Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. Chen examined it closely. "These are my retirement papers. I filed them 3 days ago, so no matter how angry you are, you can't touch my pension." The station fell silent again. Dr. Rodriguez took the paper and looked at it carefully. Dr. Chen, with a hard expression, said to Captain Williams, "Verify if this document is legitimate." Williams checked the records on the computer, looked up and said, "Sir, it's real, but the retirement doesn't take effect for another week. That means he was still an active officer when he committed these crimes. His pension is now forfeited and he'll face federal civil rights charges." Dr. Rodriguez looked directly into Mitchell's eyes. "Your new address will be the same type of cell where you put innocent people?" Dr. Chen nodded in agreement. 2 officers moved forward to arrest him, but Mitchell played his last card. "Wait, I'm not the only one involved. Do you really think I'm the only guilty one here?" He pointed to other officers in the station. "Half of them were involved in this. We've been running this scheme for years." Several officers' faces lost all color. Captain Williams began looking at each of them, realizing the scope of the corruption. Dr. Rodriguez looked at Dr. Chen and said, "We're going to have to clean out this entire department. Nobody involved will be spared." Dr. Chen responded, "As you recommend, Doctor. Everyone will be held accountable, but right now, we have a child to save." The federal agents immediately arranged a police escort. Dr. Rodriguez was rushed to a waiting car, but before she left, she turned to address everyone in that station. "What happened here today wasn't just about me. This has been happening to people in this community for years. People who couldn't fight back. People who had no voice. That ends today. I'm filing formal complaints with the Department of Justice. I'm testifying before any grand jury they convene. And I'm making sure every single person who participated in this corruption faces consequences." She paused, her voice growing stronger. "And to anyone watching this unfold, remember this. Abuse of power thrives in silence. It survives when good people do nothing. Today I'm doing something, and I expect all of you to do the same." With that, she got in the car. The convoy raced toward Birmingham Memorial with full police escort, sirens wailing. Inside the car, Dr. Rodriguez was already on the phone with her surgical team, reviewing the case details, preparing mentally for what would be one of the most high-pressure surgeries of her career. At Birmingham Memorial Hospital, the surgical team was ready. The 14-year-old patient, Jessica Martinez, was prepped and waiting. Her parents were in the waiting room, terrified, praying, having no idea what had delayed the surgery. Dr. Rodriguez burst through the doors, immediately heading to the scrub room. She had 7 minutes to scrub in and get to the operating room. As she scrubbed her hands with practiced precision, she forced herself to compartmentalize. Everything that happened at that police station, all the anger, all the injustice, had to be set aside. Right now, there was only Jessica, only this heart, only this surgery. She entered the operating room. The donor heart was in a specialized preservation container, still viable but running out of time. Her team looked at her with relief and questions in their eyes, but this wasn't the time for explanations. "Let's begin," Dr. Rodriguez said calmly. For the next 6 hours, Dr. Elena Rodriguez did what she did best. She saved a life. Her hands, the same hands that had been roughly grabbed by Sergeant Mitchell, now moved with incredible precision. Every cut, every suture, every decision made with the expertise that came from thousands of hours of training and experience. The surgery was complex, more so than usual because of the time pressure, but Dr. Rodriguez never wavered. When she finally sutured the last stitch and the new heart began beating strongly in Jessica's chest, the entire operating room erupted in quiet celebration. "We did it," Dr. Rodriguez said softly. She did it. After ensuring Jessica was stable and being moved to recovery, Dr. Rodriguez finally allowed herself to feel the exhaustion. She sat in the surgeon's lounge, still in her scrubs, and for the first time that day, she let the tears come. Not tears of sadness, but of release, of anger, of relief. A colleague found her there. "Elena, the news networks are calling. They want interviews. The Department of Justice has already opened an investigation. What you did today, it's going to change everything." Dr. Rodriguez wiped her eyes and stood up. Good, because it needs to change. Within hours, the story exploded across national media. CNN, NBC, Fox News, everyone was covering it. Renowned surgeon jailed while racing to save child's life, exposes police corruption. The hashtag Justice for Da Rodriguez was trending worldwide. The story resonated because it touched on so many issues: abuse of power, racial profiling, the vulnerability of even successful, educated people when confronted with corrupt authority. The investigation moved swiftly. The Department of Justice announced a comprehensive civil rights investigation into the Fairfield Police Department and the entire Jefferson County law enforcement system. Within a week, over 20 officers, 5 sheriff's deputies, and 3 county officials were arrested. The corruption went deeper than anyone imagined. It wasn't just random harassment. It was a systematic pattern of targeting people, particularly people of color, for traffic stops that would generate revenue through fines and seized property. They'd been running this scheme for over a decade. In the weeks that followed, more and more victims came forward. People who'd been too afraid to speak up before now found the courage. Dr. Rodriguez's actions had opened a floodgate. The community that had suffered for years finally had a voice. As for Jessica Martinez, she recovered beautifully. 3 weeks after her surgery, she was well enough to meet the press with her parents. Jessica, wearing a hospital gown with a big smile, said to the cameras, "Dr. Rodriguez is my hero. She saved my life even when bad people tried to stop her. I want to be just like her when I grow up." That clip went viral, shared millions of times. Dr. Rodriguez, watching from her office, smiled through tears. 1 month after the incident, Dr. Rodriguez was invited to testify before a congressional committee examining police reform. She didn't just talk about what happened to her. She talked about systemic issues, about accountability, about the need for federal oversight of local law enforcement agencies that had become corrupt. Her testimony was powerful, articulate, and impossible to ignore. Legislation began moving through Congress. The Dr. Elena Rodriguez Police Accountability Act, requiring federal oversight of departments with patterns of civil rights violations. Back in Fairfield, the police department was essentially disbanded and rebuilt from scratch under federal supervision. A new chief was brought in from outside the county, someone with a clean record and a commitment to actual community policing. Captain Williams, who had shown some conscience during the incident, was offered a position in the new department, but only after intensive retraining and supervision. He accepted, determined to be part of the solution rather than the problem. Sergeant Devin Mitchell and his accomplices faced federal charges. Mitchell was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for civil rights violations, kidnapping, and obstruction of justice. His pension was indeed forfeited. In prison, he had plenty of time to think about the woman he'd dismissed as nobody. As for Dr. Elena Rodriguez, she returned to doing what she loved, saving lives. But she also became an advocate, speaking at medical conferences, law enforcement training sessions, and community meetings about the intersection of healthcare, justice, and civil rights. She kept a framed newspaper headline in her office: "Doctors' courage exposes decades of police corruption, leads to systemic reform." People would ask her if she regretted not immediately revealing her identity at that checkpoint. If she'd told them right away who she was, maybe they would have let her go. Maybe she would have made it to the surgery on time without all that stress. Dr. Rodriguez's answer was always the same. If I'd pulled rank immediately, they might have let me go. But nothing would have changed. They would have kept targeting other people, people without my credentials, my education, my resources. Sometimes the most privileged among us have to experience injustice to truly understand it and to have the credibility to fight it. That's what happened that day. I experienced what countless others had experienced, but I had the platform to do something about it. That's not a burden. That's a responsibility. And she meant it, because Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood something fundamental. Real change doesn't come from protecting yourself while others suffer. It comes from standing with those who suffer, even when you have the power to avoid it, even when it costs you something, even when it's hard. Her story became a case study in medical schools, not just for the surgical skills she demonstrated under pressure, but for the ethical courage she showed. It became a training scenario in police academies across the country, an example of everything law enforcement should never do. And it became an inspiration to millions of people who realized that standing up to injustice, even when you're just one person, can change an entire system. Years later, Jessica Martinez, the girl whose life Dr. Rodriguez saved that day, graduated from medical school. At her graduation ceremony, she gave a speech about the doctor who inspired her. She told the story of a surgeon who could have pulled rank, could have demanded special treatment, but instead chose to experience injustice so she could fight it for everyone. "That's the kind of doctor I want to be," Jessica said to thunderous applause. "Not just someone who heals bodies, but someone who fights for justice. Someone who remembers that medicine isn't just about individual patients. It's about the health of our entire society." Dr. Rodriguez was in the audience that day, crying with pride. After the ceremony, Jessica found her. "Thank you for saving my life. I don't just mean the surgery. I mean showing me what courage looks like, what using your privilege and power for others looks like." Dr. Rodriguez hugged her tightly. "You're going to be an amazing doctor, and you're going to change lives, just like you changed mine." So what did we learn from Dr. Rodriguez's story? What's the takeaway from this incredible journey from that corrupt checkpoint to national reform? First, abuse of power flourishes in silence and darkness. It survives when people look away, when good people do nothing. One person speaking up can shine a light that exposes everything. Second, credentials and accomplishments don't protect you from injustice, but they can give you a platform to fight it. Use whatever privilege you have not to escape consequences, but to change systems. Third, sometimes experiencing injustice firsthand is what gives you the moral authority and understanding to fight it effectively. Don't waste those painful experiences. Transform them into action. Fourth, real courage isn't just about facing danger. It's about choosing to endure injustice when you could avoid it, so you can fight it for everyone who can't avoid it. That's the highest form of solidarity. Fifth, systemic change requires people willing to take risks, to testify, to go public, to demand accountability even when it's uncomfortable or costly. One person's courage can inspire thousands more. And finally, your profession, your passion, your skills, they're not just for your own benefit. They're tools you can use to make the world more just. Dr. Rodriguez was a brilliant surgeon, but she was also a catalyst for change because she refused to accept that injustice was inevitable. Before I let you go, I want you to think about something. When you see injustice, what do? Do you look away because it's not happening to you? Do you stay silent because speaking up might cost you something? Or do you find the courage to act, to speak, to demand better? Dr. Rodriguez could have revealed her identity immediately and avoided everything that followed. But then nothing would have changed. The system would have continued victimizing others. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is experience the full weight of injustice so you truly understand what needs to change and have the credibility to change it. That's what heroes do. Not just protect themselves, but stand with the vulnerable even when they don't have to. Even when it costs them something, even when it's hard. The next time you witness injustice, remember Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Remember that one person with courage can bring down an entire corrupt system. Remember that your voice, your testimony, your willingness to stand up matters more than you know. And remember that real change comes not from protecting your own privilege, but from using it to fight for those who have none. If this story moved you, if it made you think about justice and courage in a new way, if it reminded you that one person really can make a difference, then share it. Hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment telling me about a time when you or someone you know stood up to injustice. Because these stories matter. They remind us that change is possible, that courage is contagious, that systems can be transformed when people refuse to accept corruption as normal. And in a world that often feels overwhelming, where injustice seems too big to fight, we need these reminders. We need to know that ordinary people doing extraordinary things can change everything. Until next time, remember that the truth always finds its way. That justice, though sometimes delayed, can still prevail. That one person with courage and conviction can expose decades of corruption. And most importantly, that when you have the power to fight injustice, even when it doesn't directly affect you, that's not just an opportunity. That's a responsibility. Dr. Elena Rodriguez understood that. She lived it. And because she did, countless lives were changed, a corrupt system was reformed, and a little girl got to grow up and become a doctor herself. That's the power of courage. That's the power of choosing justice over convenience. That's the power of one person who refuses to stay silent. Be that person. The world needs more people like Dr. Elena Rodriguez. More people who won't look away. More people who use whatever power they have to fight for those who have none. That's how change happens. One courageous act at a time. The truth always finds its way. Always.